Alright, so I think I've talked about the Kelsey thing enough. I had another dream last night. The dream I talked about was the night before last, but I had a dream last night where I've lost most of it, but I remember that the president of De Anza College was in the dream, Brian Murphy. And, I can't remember what it was. Like, either I was trying to prove myself to him, for him to see me for who I was, or maybe I was trying to defend him. Maybe I was... Because, you know, I mean, you know, this action that was taken against me, I feel obligated to stay here at De Anza College because that gives me the potential to reverse what was done to me. And that'll be a big deal when I bring it before the Board of Trustees. That'll be something that perhaps gets one or more people fired. You know, and what I hope is that it will have a lasting, profound, powerful impact on the culture of De Anza College, and something that promotes student empowerment as a whole. And I think I have a real chance of doing that. But me doing that, does that have the potential to put him at risk in a way? So, you know, I guess I just want to be really careful about how I do it. Because, you know, despite being, you know, that kind of like the peak executive position, he's also in a vulnerable position because he you know, I believe that he's somebody of integrity, and you know, I feel like he's demonstrated that a lot of times, and he's not somebody who's going to compromise himself to be self-interested, and he's somebody who really supports empowerment of people. He certainly supports student empowerment. So I do want to defend him. I do want to make sure that I don't in any way damage his ability to do work in the world. So I was feeling a little concerned about that. I can't remember what was in the dream. I think it was something about me, either him finally understanding or something, or whatever. I don't know. I guess the last thing I'd like to talk about, the thing I do kind of want to say, is why I was depressed for the last week. And why I was depressed was, I had like 3 really kind of negative experiences all happen within the course of like 4 days. God, within 3 days, 2 days, something like that, where it made me remember this kind of awkwardness that I had when I was younger, this feeling of disconnection from the world, this feeling of, you know, being so not understood. I mean, when I was a little kid, I tried to be weird as a way to kind of individualize myself, to try to be valuable. I felt like if I'm different, I am of value, and I still feel that way, but I consciously tried to be different, despite, in a lot of ways, naturally being different. I even tried to emphasize it, and in some ways that really actually made me unhappy. I mean, you know, at a point, you know, or at a few points when I was in grade school, I was actually teased. You know, I put myself in an outsider position. I was comfortable in that, but I was actually also to some degree rejected, I think. And that felt not good to me. And so anyway, the situations were that I went to a kind of party. It was called like a rave, although it wasn't really a rave, but there was electronic music, and it was a bunch of people dancing in a kind of like warehouse attic area. So it had some similarities to a rave, but it was basically De Anza College students, yeah, dancing to electronic music, and I just felt this sense of alienation there, because I didn't come as a group, as a member of a group of friends. I came as an individual. I rode my bicycle there. It took me an hour and a half to get there. And, or maybe just an hour, but it took me a long time. You know, it was 20 miles, I don't know, maybe 15. And you know, whenever I bike for that long to get anywhere, there's always kind of a feeling of just kind of loneliness and sadness for me. It's kind of emotionally hard, I guess, for me to bicycle long distances. I'm not sure why, but you know, I have been lonely a lot in my life. I've chosen to be alone, but I've still felt lonely. And there was this profound sense of loneliness being there. You know, there were people I knew there, and in fact I was welcomed in. I hugged a bunch of people actually, but you know, I began the night alone, and I ended the night alone, and you know, most of the time there I was alone. You know, I think that I remember when I was, you know, 24, 25 or something like that, I tried to have a birthday party. You know, it was like at some point I actually wasn't aware that people still had birthday parties when they were that old. I mean, I thought that most people didn't, but then I became aware that a lot of people actually were having birthday parties into their 20s. And I hadn't had a birthday party since I was, I don't know, 10 years old or something. So, you know, I thought that might be a good way for me to try to connect with the world and be part of the world. So I tried to have a birthday party, but I mean, I guess kind of a requisite thing to have a birthday party is to have friends that you can invite to a birthday party. So I had, you know, I invited you know, I didn't know how to do it, but I invited like people I kind of knew, which I know is not unusual, but I guess maybe I just didn't know how to do it, and I had two friends come. I had Matt and Dang, who'd never met each other before, and I was thinking that we could do a potluck, but that didn't really seem to work, so we just, I think, all we did is we drove to the skyline and went for a hike, and it was at nighttime, and I guess neither of them were used to going for hikes at nighttime. Although I have gone for hikes with Matt at nighttime before. I don't know, but neither of them were comfortable with it, so we just like walked for 10 minutes and walked back, and that was basically it. That was my basically failed attempt at having a birthday party. You know, I guess one thing that brought home for me is I was kind of thinking, yeah, maybe it's a little bit out of the ordinary for me to be that separated from people, but it's perhaps not just a little bit out of the ordinary, but perhaps remarkably. I mean, certainly not unique, certainly not something that a lot of people aren't as well, but you know, I would say it's remarkable, to some degree exceptional for me to be that separated from people. And that was the feeling that I was reminded of being at that party. And so that was difficult for me. You know, it made me feel a little depressed. And